Welcome to Plot Twist Radio, the show where creativity, storytelling, and the unpredictable path of the creative life all collide. I'm your host, Erin Egnatz. Welcome back to Plot Twist Radio, where we dive into the stories behind the storytellers. Today's guest is children's book author Lori Orlinsky, a writer whose work is rooted in something every parent and child understands: real life. Lori's books take everyday childhood challenges and turn them into meaningful, relatable lessons for young readers. Her debut book, Being Small Isn't So Bad After All, was inspired by her daughter's experience with teasing at school and went on to sell more than 10,000 copies. Since then, Lori has continued building her Being Me series, helping kids navigate identity, confidence, and the ups and downs of growing up. Her latest book, Being Middle, celebrates middle children everywhere, turning what many kids see as a frustrating position into something special and empowering. In this episode, Lori and I talk about the power of storytelling as a teaching tool, why humor and rhyme can help kids fall in love with reading, and how books can help both children and adults reconnect with the experiences of childhood. So if you're a parent, a reader, a writer, or just someone who remembers what it feels like to be a kid trying to figure out where you fit in, this conversation is for you. Lori, thank you for coming on the show. Can you tell the guests a little bit about yourself?
Thank you so much for having me. I am a children's book author. I've been writing children's books for about a decade, and my children's books are focused on teaching kids lessons in a accessible way that they can relate to. My first book, for example, my daughter, who's now 13, was 3 years old, and she found out that she was the shortest kid in class, and she didn't wanna go to school anymore. She was so upset, and her friends started not teasing her in a mean way, but just kind of picking on her and calling her Shorty and Peanut, and she didn't wanna go to school, so I wrote a book for her. I have a journalism background. I never thought I'd be using it to write a book, but I did, and she loved it, and a couple of her friends read it, and they liked it too, and I thought, "Let me submit this to a publisher," and sure enough, it was called Being Small Isn't So Bad After All, and that got picked up, and it sold more than 10,000 copies, and, I decided, like, let me keep doing this again and again as long as I can teach kids lessons in these kinds of ways. There's endless topics, and I love doing it.
That is so important. I have 3 kids, and my daughter, she's the middle child, and, she was always worried about being picked on, just so she always felt like people were judging her or whatever. She's not good enough for this, or she's not part of the young crowd. So I love that there was a reason that you got in, and it was your daughter. That's just so sweet. She's also 13, my daughter, so
Oh, wow. Well, speaking of middle children, so my Ellie, who is my youngest, became a middle child when she was 6. And so she started complaining about people are forgetting me. And granted, like we did one time forget that she was in the house sleeping, but she was just feeling overlooked. And so I wrote another book for her, and I liked that, a couple of her friends read it too, and they were middle children, and I had family members read it, and they were middle children, and so I was able to publish that traditionally, and, that was the second book in the Being Me series, so it's called Being Middle, and it was published by Yorkshire Publishing, and it came out this past August on National Middle Child Day, so you can tell your daughter I'll send her a copy.
oh, she would love that. She absolutely would. So we know what inspired the Being Middle. What inspired the Being Me series overall?
Overall, it was just seeing kids and how they respond to books and lessons. I could have easily sat my daughter Haley down and talked to her about bullying and what's okay to say and what's not to say and self-esteem and just having that conversation with her. She was 3, it felt forced and it felt like it was maybe too above her. So I think a lot of times books can serve as a teaching tool for different hard conversations that maybe parents aren't ready to have or parents are ready to have, but they need an opener.
Speaking of being middle, what are some middle child moments you wanted kids to recognize and possibly even laugh at?
Well, I think one of the big ones here is that so my daughter Ellie is 10 and my Haley is 13. And Ellie keeps getting called Haley in school all the time, and so I wanted, people to be able to recognize that, hey, it happens to everyone. It's not just you. And it's kind of a funny sibling bonding thing, middle child club. So that I pointed out. I pointed out how, kids in the middle often get hand me down clothes and they complain about it. But I flipped the script in a nice way. The book starts out about the little girl complaining about being a middle child, and she lists the reasons why it's terrible. And then the mom talks about actually here are the reasons why it's good.
Yes. I love that you use that one too. I do that all the time with my kids, even from boy to girl. I'll just, not be thinking, I'll be like, Tristan, and I'm meaning Kedzie. So it's just one of those things. So that is good that you put that in there. It's kind of like a little comic relief, but it's also at the same time, see, you're not left out.
Yes, yes, and I tried to in the book when the parent was talking about the amazing things about being in the middle, I kept it really simple so these kids could understand and visualize. So I talked about the cream and the Oreo cookie and how that's everyone's favorite. Well, that's in the middle. I talked about a bridge that connects two places, and if without a bridge we'd be stuck and we would go nowhere. So I did it in that manner, and the book is geared to kids 3 to 8, but really older kids can even get a chuckle from it because you just remember when you were younger.
Yes, for sure. So, how do you balance humor and heart when you're writing for the younger readers?
That's a good question. I think just being a parent and just being able to laugh at things and being able to not take myself too seriously, I can put my personality into the book. And I feel like without a little humor in the book, it might be dry, especially for this age. It's very hard to captivate, especially young readers and reluctant readers. So I also write in rhyme for that very reason because kids know what's coming and they love being able to anticipate it. If I'm reading out loud and there's a word that rhymes with, they'll repeat it back to me. And I love it. I love that it helps kids learn to read. And I love writing in rhyme, and I think that's going to be my style. I've written 5 books, and I think if I write any more, we're going to just continue the rhyme, even though when I'm home and I'm writing a book, everything comes in rhyme when I'm writing the book. Like,
Mm.
everything I'm saying.
Really?
I'm like, "I'm gonna get up and go today. Might as well not go that way." Like, I'm constantly rhyming when I'm in the mindset of a book, and it's funny for my family.
Yeah. I mean, as authors, I've been told by my husband, we're quirky. Um,
Yeah.
so, I love that. I love the rhyming. I cannot rhyme to save my life. I don't know why, but
Well, I gave a lot of credit to being left-handed. I always think I'm in that club where I think left-handed people are creative and unique. I'm biased, but I'll give credit to being left-handed too for being able to the humor and heart.
for sure. Yes. You kind of touched on this a little bit, but what do you hope a child feels after reading Being Middle?
I hope first and foremost the child feels like they're not alone. There are other middle children in this world who have the same, gripes and grievances as they do, but they're part of this special community and they're not stuck in the middle. I want children to read the book and feel like I get to be in the middle. And I think that the book has definitely accomplished that. I actually the International Middle Child Union reached out to me and offered me an honorary membership because of my book. And I said, "Oh, wow, this is great. What do I get?" And he said, "You get exactly what a middle child gets, nothing." So I thought that was pretty funny, but I think it gives them confidence as well,
Absolutely. And that's so important for children.
especially in that age range. It's brutal out there.
It
And
really is.
even though my daughter Haley wasn't getting bullied, I feel like tackling it at that age is smart because, you set the kids up for a lifetime of lessons early on. So I tried to do that as well. I tried to really gear the first one, especially towards the younger.
Yeah, I could see that, and, it's such a powerful lesson, and if they can kinda prepare for it coming up before it happens, maybe, it's a different kind of result versus if they weren't prepared, so,
Right.
as far as adults go, sometimes we forget what it's like to be a child. What do you think a book like this does to actually bring out the child in them?
I think books like this are nostalgic. For example, my friend is a middle child, and as she was reading these books, she's like, "Oh my gosh, I remember when my sister and I did this," and she'll tell me a particular story. And, books bring you back to that child you were, and they help you relearn all over again because now you're not learning through your own eyes as you were a child, you're learning through a parent's eyes and how to teach kids. So I think that's really important.
Yes. So you're a longtime advocate for literacy.
Yes.
What are your best tips for getting kids excited about reading? Because I can tell you my kids do not like to read at all.
And I even struggle that with that with my own kids. I love that the libraries and some businesses do challenges, reading challenges. Even though the Pizza Hut thing we did when we were young, I think Pizza Hut still has a Book It program where if you read a certain amount of books, you get a coupon for a free pizza. And the libraries always have reading challenges going on, and there's little rewards with that. My kids like to feel like they're participating in something, so I think that's a lot of fun. I also, even introducing them to audiobooks because I am a firm believer that audiobooks are not cheating.
Oh,
Audiobooks are still reading, it's still sparking your imagination and taking you elsewhere. So I think even like letting kids know, hey, this is available on audio. You can listen to it. You can listen to it be read to you, and then you can read the book. So there's just a lot of ways now that kids can learn to love literacy, especially in a socially connected world. I think, with my kids, I give them the extra 20 minutes to stay up as long as they're reading. Reading is just, I tell all kids too in my author visits, read the back of a cereal box, read directions, like read as much as you can and learn as much as you can from reading and absorb everything because every word is important.
it is. It absolutely is. And I can actually personally attest to that. When I was a kid and even in high school, I did not read. I did not want to. I would blow off all of it. I just wasn't going to do it. And I wasn't a good student. But as I got older, I was introduced to Jane Austen's, Pride and Prejudice, and I just became hooked, and then after that, I needed more, romance in my life, I guess, I don't know, but I started reading a bunch, and my whole worldview, like, changed, like, I became more open-minded, better educated, I guess. I went back to college after, I did really well after, but I always have attested that to finally reading, finally opening my mind up to it.
And I think adult book clubs have become so big in popularity that there are kids' book clubs popping up. They do it at libraries, some schools do it before or after school programs. And I think also getting kids excited in that way, you're not just read alone, you're reading with all of these people and you can talk about your thoughts and feelings and what you learned.
Yes, exactly. Speaking of writer groups, reading groups, I've seen a few pop up online and I was wondering about getting my kids into it. I've seen a little bit about the kidlit trends and whatnot. Do you know anything about those?
I would check local library for any programs that are going on. I would encourage people to do that. There's a program out there called Kidlit TV, and I believe it's free, and you can watch authors. They have different interviews, and they also they do it in a fun and animated way, and that's been a lot of fun for kids too.
Cool. So, when it comes to your writing, what is the writing process like? Do you just start with an idea or do you sit down and kind of, write some notes?
So it's strange. I always start with a title because I feel like I can't organize my thoughts without a title. And I sit down and I write like out the outline. So for example, for being middle, I knew the first part was going to be the child griping about being in the middle. What are the gripes and grievances? And then the mom kind of flipping the script. And so I wrote the first part of it, just sitting on my computer, dedicated, and the rest of it literally came to me, like, as I was out grocery shopping or whatnot, I would think of different lines and I would just record the lines on my iPhone, and I'd go home and add them and see where they fit. I can't really sit down and completely write a book. It's just too hard for me. The ideas just are flowing all the time, but the worst is when they wake you up at night.
Right.
But it's writing is, it's a different personal process for everyone. But I've even like written on Post-it notes, like I've written on the back of my kids' homework when the idea strikes because writer's block is real. So anytime I can get the words out, I'm excited. I'm sure you know about
Oh,
writer's.
yeah, nightmare. It's a nightmare. I
I thought it
I
was just a saying until I lived it.
right, and then you're just like, "Why can't I get out of this?" Sometimes it's just an afternoon, sometimes it's a couple weeks, and oh my goodness.
And I like to change my locations too when that happens. Like, if I'm at my house, I'll go to Starbucks. If I'm at Starbucks, I'll find even there's, like, really nice hotel lobbies you can sit in too. They have free Wi-Fi, and you can work from there. I like to be inspired and work from different places because if I'm stuck at home, I feel like my mind is like, "Ooh, I gotta do the laundry. I gotta empty the dishwasher." So, I wanna be in a place where I have no commitments to other than sitting and writing if I want.
Exactly, yes, I'm actually doing that next week. I'm heading down to Florida for just a few days, hotel, and I'm just gonna finish my book.
Oh,
Just
good for you.
quiet, yeah. Florida's my, like, happy place, even though it's gonna be, like, 58 as a high because that's my luck. So, a few more questions. First, if Being Middle were a movie, who would narrate it?
100% Jodie Sweetin because she is like the epitome of middle children. Everybody knows Stephanie Tanner, and I think our kids got to experience that with the new spinoff of Fuller House. I will never forget when she kept that she said she was going to change her name to Jan because people called her Step on Me instead of Stephanie. Um, Either her or Eve Plum, who played Jan in The Brady Bunch, because also what a middle child there.
Yes. Yes. Marsha, Marsha, Marsha.
Oh,
Yes.
yep.
So, what's next for you after, Being Me?
I am tinkering around with different ideas for the Being Me series. I've written other standalone books, so I think right now, I'm gonna give myself a break for 6 months or a year and just re-energize and recharge, and hopefully when the moment strikes to have an idea, I will be able to write it down and just start working.
Good idea. So, where can our audience find you?
So I'm on social media. My handles is at Lori Orlinsky author, and you can find me on my website as well. It's LoriOrlinskyAuthor.com.
Excellent. And are your books on Amazon, Barnes& and Noble, all of them?
Yep, I run all of them, and they're also in a lot of independent bookstores and libraries throughout the country.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I've enjoyed talking with you today.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having me.
That was my conversation with Lori Orlinsky, author of the Being Me series, including her newest book, Being Middle. What I love about Lori's work is how she takes those everyday childhood experiences, feeling too small, feeling overlooked, or just trying to find where you belong, and turns them into stories that help kids feel seen, understood, and confident in who they are. And honestly, sometimes adults need those reminders too. If you'd like to learn more about Lori or check out her books, you can visit her website at loriorlinskyauthor.com or follow her on social media. Her books are available on Amazon, Barnes& and Noble, independent bookstores, and in libraries across the country. And if you enjoyed this episode of Plot Twist Radio, be sure to follow the show so you never miss a conversation with the storytellers, creators, and thinkers shaping the worlds we love to explore. Until next time, keep reading, keep writing, and always stay curious.